Good morning, everybody. My name is Jay Panero. I'd like to welcome you to this webcast on managing non-CAD data with SOLIDWORKS PDM. It's officially time to begin here. Gave everybody an extra minute or so to hop in. A couple of housekeeping items up front. Next slide here is my housekeeping item. Who am I? Why should you be here? My experience with SolidWorks products spans 17 years at this point. I have a number of certifications which I chose not to list there. It's because SolidWorks makes those look like alphabet soup. Um, I am a mechanical engineer who came up through the design of actually 3D of printers, not 3D printers, driver's license printers, and things like that. So I have had 17 years in the SolidWorks channel, which basically gave me opportunity to explore any mechanical tool set inside of SolidWorks. So until you get to electrical, I've touched the products, and hopefully from my 17 years, we can pull some good information for you guys today for your PDM implementations. Um, so the picture up in front of you is a little bit backwards from what some of the salespeople you may have dealt with may have described SolidWorks. A lot of times, SolidWorks, the CAD program, is called a platform. It's the hub. We have a lot of different tool sets that work inside of SolidWorks CAD, so it's described as the hub. This picture here flips it on its head, and the hub in this particular instance is the data management system. And the spokes in the wheel are the CAD system, the simulation, the CAM, the inspection, and any of the customer-facing documentation that might be required. All right, so this is the way we're going to attack today's presentation with PDM as the center. All right, so bear with me one second here. There we go. The goal today is to go through a few different topics that PDM will help us out with. PDM is often thought of as CAD-centric. You're a SolidWorks user, you put your parts, assemblies, and drawings in PDM. Historically, surprisingly, the PDM product that we own was originally not even designed for SolidWorks. It was actually originally designed for AutoCAD. And it interacts with any Windows-based file. In some of those files, it actually interacts with just as well as it would SolidWorks. So we want to use some of those non-CAD data files to enhance bill of material. Perhaps as an example of another one is to work with inspection reports. And the last one is customer-facing documentation. Now, all three have a very similar operation. How do they work? Obviously, they're vastly different documents in the background, but they have similar PDM implementation aspects. So, enhanced bill of material content is where we'll begin. All right. The little assembly listed here is a small gear set from a big miter saw. For those of you who have been in SolidWorks for a number of years, there used to be a very nice looking miter saw assembly used in What's New presentations. So I stole this little assembly from there. Why do we want to enhance the BOM content? Because PDM's goal is to export the bill of material upon approval to the next system in line, ERP system, MRP system. There is decidedly a breakdown, a breaking point rather, between a manufacturing bill of materials and an engineering bill of materials, but we can enhance the content of the engineering bill of materials right inside of PDM, so when it gets handed off, it is that much more complete. So what do we want to add? I chose a random Dow grease I went to the Dow Chemical website and I got the grease. What I actually downloaded from them was a document. PDM is data management. So what data am I going to manage? This is actually a PDF document of the MSDS sheet, which I think has been changed to the data, just a data sheet. All right. So that is in my vault. The assembly is in my vault. Now, what I'm actually doing is changing the bill of material for an assembly. So I'm actually revising the assembly. The technique I'm about to use here does require that the assembly be able to be checked out. So I'm going to make a revision to an assembly. So let's start right there. All right. We need to change an assembly. I want to document it. So I actually have a demo vault with the EC document as part of my vault. I have to make a disclaimer. What you see up in front of you is a mechanical engineer attempting to do graphics skills, graphics design, which I use PowerPoint for, obviously, so I apologize for the crudity of the model, but it does get the point across. We have two separate documents in our vault that need to work together. CAD document flowing through a CAD workflow and a separate document, EC document, flowing through an EC workflow. They need to work together at certain times. So this is an option for an EC doc. I'm just going to go through this quickly. This is the way I used to have to work when I was in the field. I had to document changes up front, get permission basically, and then go ahead and make changes to the CAD documents. So this is outlined here. You know, the CAD document is flagged as a change is coming, change pending. The EC document's created. The CAD document just kind of sits around for a little bit while the EC document goes through its investigation. All right. I know it says ECN up there, but it's really just EC. You know, at time 0, it's the ECR, it's a change request. At one point in it, it becomes a change order, and at the end of it, it becomes a change notice, but I'll just call it EC. So the CAD document sits and waits for the EC to take a couple of steps. Once the EC is approved and filled out, it becomes an order, basically. The CAD document needs to move to a spot where the engineer can actually make changes, where the EC document at that point is just kind of in a holding pattern. Engineer makes changes, CAD documents are reviewed, and then they both get approved or implemented, as the EC case, at the end. This is a very traditional document to change up front. In smaller companies, this may be a methodology, not my preferred, but it is a methodology where you basically release the CAD documents for change, and then you document after the fact. Like I say, not my preferred, but it does. Both of them work. It really just depends on how you choose to implement the PDM workflows. Just to be above board with everybody, I am talking about multiple workflows, which means I am in PDM Professional. When we get the non-CAD documents in, and we have many different groups in the organization involved, we are definitely in PDM Professional to get the different workflows. So how does this actually work? All right, let's do this. Let's grab a different window here for a second. I'll hop right into the software. So this is the little gearbox. All right, I'm going to make a change to this gearbox to add the grease to it. So what I'll do here is I will initiate the change. So I'll take it out of the approved state. I'll say change required. Now what happens here in my vault when this is done, all right, there is a little widget that Fisher Unitech has that we use, and it triggers an EC document. So I pushed a CAD document into a change pending state, EC document. Let me just fill this out here. If I could type and talk at the same time, this would be even better. All right. The EC document gets triggered. Now, in my case, my EC document is very simple. It is a Excel. It's a Word document in my case. All right. So this is the data card for the EC document. All right. Which puts this guy into a change pending state. Now the EC document. If I go into my EC area here. All right. There's the EC doc. The preview here, like I said, this is a really simple example of a Word document. This Word document or Excel spreadsheet, whatever you choose, could actually be much more comprehensive. Mine is pretty simple. So we'll pretend that, yes, everyone approves the grease change. We'll go ahead and we'll get this thing approved. All right, so you see this here is the beginning of PDM functionality. There's links between documents. So this EC document here is going to get approved, and I'm just going to bump this thing right through because I'm logged in as God. I like to have the God level admin permissions here. All right, so you can see the EC document is taking its first steps. All right, it is basically going through these steps right here. All right, so that's why the gearbox here is staying right where it is. All right, and when this thing actually gets approved, okay, I can take the assembly along with it. Now, fastest way to get back to the assembly, since it's listed as a reference, I can actually just right click here and say browse to. All right, now it's in a state where it's under change, and this is in my vault. This terminology means that the engineer can basically log in and check this thing out. All right, so we're just going to make a change just to the assembly, keep it really simple today, and we're going to go into our folder here. All right, I have a library in my vault. Part of my library, I have a grease folder amongst all the other mechanical components. So in my PowerPoint, I actually have this grease indicated, and then I actually thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? This might actually be a more appropriate grease, just another MSDS sheet from a different company. So how do I actually add this grease and enhance the bill of material content for the assembly? We will create a link, basically attach this PDF as a reference, and it'll show up in the bill of material. All right, now to start the process, I actually go to the PDF and I say copy. And then to complete the process, I come over here to my assembly, which is checked out to me. Right click, say paste as reference. All right, it creates a reference. I can even put in a quantity that's non-numeric. I can put in, 10 milliliters, whatever unit I have here for grease. When I check this guy back in, right, I now have a reference to the grease file ready to go. So this is now going to be part of the bill of material, and it's going to be spit out to the next system in line when this document actually gets approved. All right. So the technique works for any document in the vault. All right, this happens to be a grease example. A lot of times in my vault, I will do, for demonstration purposes, I have a wire tie, a zip tie that I use a lot. So this happens to be a picture from the McMaster car catalog. Models of these are generally not put into SOLIDWORKS assemblies, but I have used this as an example many times, and you can see all these assemblies here call out X number of wire ties as part of their bill of material. So the technique works very well, and it's quite simple. All right. So that is just a way to add the bill of material, enhance the bill of material operations, along with a very quick explanation of EC documents. Now, the EC document is a workflow. The CAD document is a workflow. I did use a Fisher Unitech created example of an API to make those work, but that is your all Fisher Unitech customers. We have the ability to do this quite simply. All right. So that's example one, enhanced bill of material content. What about non-CAD documents? And the first example of non-CAD document is going to be an inspection report. A lot of times standard operating procedures for both assembly and inspection are documents that exist, and they deserve just as much protection and revision control as a CAD document. This case here, we're going to quickly create an inspection report, a master report that would be used the next time this job comes up. Okay, let's go print out the report. In my case, because I am who I am, I'm going to create that using a SOLIDWORKS tool. However you guys choose to generate it is your choice, but just to give you an example here, we'll start with SOLIDWORKS drawing. I will use an SOLIDWORKS inspection add-in to create this balloon. All right. I could also use the inspection standalone. There is a standalone interface that goes with inspection because a lot of times the inspectors are not CAD savvy, so they have their own interface here. The deliverable, what do I actually need to deliver to the people doing the inspection? I need the ballooned version of the drawing, most likely as a PDF. And in this case here, I need an Excel spreadsheet that represents the items I need to inspect. All right, so those are the deliverables that I have. From a PDM perspective and a file perspective, this is what it looks like. Once again, I'll apologize. This is a mechanical engineer attempting to do graphics work. So the PowerPoint skills here might need to be upped. But over on the right-hand side are the files we're familiar with. These are the CAD drawing and the CAD part file. The ones you are not familiar with or may not be familiar with, the IXPRJ, that's the inspection file. And then the deliverables of the inspection file are the PDF and the inspection. This is how it's actually going to attempt to work. All right. So what we'll do here, all right, I'm actually going to take this one step further. I'm going to go into my project directory. And I have here a drawing that will need inspection. Now, using a very simple dispatch action, all right, I can actually help myself out as an inspector, and I can create a spot in my inspection area. My vault has a completely different area for quality. All right, these are the inspection report master files. All right, and this is an example of a folder that's created through a dispatch action. What does that actually mean? If I need to create an inspection report for this, I can simply find the drawing, right-click, and say Create Inspection Project. Now, all this does here is it creates a folder for me, but it can take information from the file, the CAD file, and basically copy it over to information on the inspection report. If you were in my presentation last week where I talked about data cards, I did mention that mechanical engineers are not the best typers or spellers in the world, so if we have the ability to leverage this data, this is not magical at all. This is a very, very simple PDM functionality called dispatch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that drawing inside of SOLIDWORKS. And this is all extremely, extremely quick. I'm actually going to do this live. Let's just bring SOLIDWORKS over to the proper window. Okay. Now, I have a finished, we'll call it a finished drawing. I want to create an inspection report. I have inspection plugged in. All right. And inspection is a demo in and of itself, so I'm going to go through the inspection piece of it quickly. I just want to get to those deliverables. PDM does help out. This is information that's going to end up in the header of my inspection report. PDM has the extra metadata that goes along with it. So once again, instead of typing, I can actually just leverage information from the data card here to help out with my inspection report. All right. This is going to automatically balloon items. And if I were doing this as an inspection demo, I would talk about how is it doing what it's doing, how can I alter what it's doing, finesse what it's doing. In this case here, the fact that it's just ballooning 100% is good for our particular aspect that we're trying to talk about here. Now, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to create those deliverables. So I'm going to export the files up here. So this one here is the ballooned PDF. All right. This one here is the Excel spreadsheet. Let's just use this template. Helps if I actually make my click. And if I were not the inspector, this next click here will actually create a file for an inspector to go into the standalone version of SOLIDWORKS inspection and manipulate the files even further. This is a link that was created a couple of years ago between PDM and inspection, so it understands the link between some of the deliverables and the CAD file itself. All right. And let's go ahead and put this guy in the proper folder here. Okay, so PDM and inspection and SOLIDWORKS together did most of the work needed here. Okay, it created the file. It created some links between the files. Let's go take a look at what those look like inside of the PDM interface here. That's fine. Okay, so what I have, all right, there is the inspection project ready for the inspector to open it up in the standalone version of the product, which looks slightly different. Looks kind of like this. This is a different example. This would be for non-CAD people to come in and manipulate some of the information here and spit out the inspection information. All right, so it's creating the link there. What I will do is I'll use the exact same functionality I used for the grease to create a link between the inspection information and the original CAD document. Okay, this only has to be done once. Once I have created a link here, PDM will remember it. All right, now this is a brand new document. You can see how it's state here, work in process. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get this thing approved. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and check it in. All right, you can see how the links, oh, that's still open. Let's do this. It opened in Excel in my other window. So Excel had its hooks on it. I'm going to close the Excel. Let's do that again. All right. So most of this was done automatically. I did one of these links manually, and I only have to do that once in its life. I'll go ahead and check this thing in. Once again, I have two separate sets of documents with two different groups, two different workflows, but they're going to work together in some instances. Okay, so if I'm going to go ahead and get this thing submitted for approval. Now let's take these guys. All right. I'm logged in as God, so I can just keep going here. What I really want to show you, all right, is what happens in a month. This is a brand new document. The inspectors know, okay, I got to go ahead and create this. Now it's a month, 2 months later. This document's going to go from Rev A to Rev B. Now you got two different groups of people in two different sections of the building. A month later, when I do a change required to the CAD document, right, you can see how the inspection project is available for me. Now, as a mechanical engineer or in the design team, I'm not actually going to do anything to this document, but if I trigger a workflow change for this document, the inspectors will be notified, oh, a change is coming. I have to go open up the inspection project and manipulate it. As a mechanical engineer, I might not be able to open or edit or check out this document, but I can push it forward into a holding state for the purposes of sending out notifications and things like that. Works out wonderful. It's just a matter of getting the workflows to talk to one another. So this is now pushed it forward. Yeah, let's go. Okay. All right. And if I were to hop over to the inspection area, all right, this is now an engineering change pending. The inspectors have been notified. So we've done our job. They know they have some work to do. They can go in, they can run a search on all inspection information that's in a change pending, and they have a basic task list for them. So it's the same sort of functionality. In this case, SOLIDWORKS Inspection did most of the work. I did have to create one link manually between this and the part file. SOLIDWORKS did the rest, and I only have to do that once. So I was able to use the exact same functionality that I did for the grease to get this to work. And I'm going to do this one quickly because I think you've gotten an understanding that the technique works for any document that I need to. All right. So for customer-facing documents, where you probably have, if you're employ tech writers, you don't want engineers creating documents like this. This is a cleaning document. This is a maintenance document. You could have a technical service bulletin, whatever the case may be. The customer is going to see them. A lot of times they are done by tech writers or sometimes even marketing at that point. In this case, all of mine were created with SOLIDWORKS Composer. I would not be doing my job if I didn't put in the plug for that product. The fact of the matter is, this is once again functional no matter how you created these documents. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to hop over to, I got a lot of stuff open here. Let's bring this over. This is the painter. It was the first example I had in my PowerPoint there. This product here is responsible for creating all of the really nice graphics that go along with this. The document itself is a old-fashioned publisher document. So once again, I have a different area in my vault, Tech Pubs. I've got all the different projects that the technical writers have been working on. Here's the Power Painter. All right. This is the document from the PDF. So once again, quite simply, it's just a matter of creating a link between this document and the CAD document, and the rest will kind of take care of itself. All right, so it's the same sort of deal. This would, depending on your preferences, you can run one as the parent, one as the child. I'm not sure for each organization which would be the better of the two. In this case here, I'm actually going to make the document a child of the assembly. So I'll start by going over to the document, copy. I will come over to the Power Painter itself. All right, now I'm logged in as God, so I can actually check this thing out and paste it as a reference. All right, so now what's going to happen as the Power Painter goes through its life and goes through its changes, notifications can be sent out to the technical writers, and this document can actually go through steps in its workflow based on the CAD workflow. So all three options use the same paste as reference. In some of these examples, there was some automation built in from SOLIDWORKS. The inspection did a great job with that. The other two, the bill of material enhancement and the customer-facing documentation, were definitely manual. But like I said, it only has to be done once, and once it's done, it's done. And the documents, the CAD documents, as they move, you can trigger notifications to other groups in the organization that changes are coming and they have to update their documents as well. So hopefully it wasn't too repetitive for you using the same sort of technique. Um, so at this point here, from a content perspective, this is what I had chosen to demonstrate to you attending today. Before I get into question and answer, we have some new offerings to get PDM implemented at your company. They are quick starts. They have different durations depending on some of the options that you're interested in. They are listed up here. This is where a quick call to your sales rep, we could iron out which one of these is best suited to your needs in your company. All right. So before I get into the question and answer, I'd like to say thank you for attending. Hope you enjoyed it and were able to find something you could take with you to your PDM implementation as it stands right now.